The Green Party has spent the last 48 hours defending against comments made by one of its star candidates in Quebec, former NDP MP Pierre Nantel. Earlier this week, Nantel told an internet radio program, quote, "Let's separate as fast as possible." But that seemed to come as a surprise to the party and its leader, who said, quote, "We will not have a candidate who thinks they can work to break up our country." Yesterday, though, Mr. Nantel doubled down, saying everyone knows he's a sovereigntist. This morning, I spoke with Green Party leader Elizabeth May from Toronto. Hi, Ms. May. Welcome back to the show. Nice to see you again.
Good to see you, Vashi.
I want to start off by asking you about Mr. Nantel. Your candidate obviously said yesterday in an interview with TVA, quote, "Of course, I'm a sovereigntist. Everyone knows it." You said on Tuesday, though, and I want to quote you again, "As far as I know in all my conversations with him, he's not a separatist." So which is it?
Sovereigntism and separatism it may seem like it's splitting hairs, but a lot of Quebecers are sovereigntists. They respect the sovereignty of Quebec. They're not interested in separating. Pierre is not a separatist. He's not interested in breaking up the country. He's been a federal MP for 8 years. I served with him at that time, 8 years as a federal New Democrat. He didn't say a thing or press for separatism, and he certainly won't do that within the Green Party, because we're a party that believes in an enhanced, improved federalism, and I will always fight for Canada.
He did say in another interview a few days ago, though, that if there were a referendum to be held, he would vote to separate. Is that a problem?
There are a lot of sitting members of parliament in other parties who feel the same way. What's a problem would be if anyone thought it was a good idea to start encouraging separatism, fighting for separatism, calling for a referendum. None of those things interest Pierre. Right now, he, like I and every other Green Party candidate across this country, recognizes that we're in a climate emergency. And I'd welcome any other sovereigntist to come join the Green Party, not think about separatism, but think about saving ourselves in a climate emergency by working together.
Even if he's not calling for those things right now, and I take your point, he also did make the point that he is so concerned about the climate crisis that is his priority. But if that were to ever shift, I mean, what assurances can you provide Canadians that there isn't somebody like him in your party who will get up and say, it's time to separate, let's hold a referendum?
Look, you can ask the same question of the Liberals and the Democrats and the Conservatives. I'm just saying there are a lot of Quebecers over time have been supporters of separatism when it was an active issue. I will do everything I can to make sure it's never an active issue in this country. If I were Prime Minister, I'd work very closely with all of my provincial counterparts, improving federalism through our Council of Canadian Governments, which brings municipal governments to the table, Indigenous governments to the table. We need to pull the country together, and there is no way in this world that a Green MP would be confused on this point. We are a party that believes in holding Canada together with an improved and renewed federalism.
Has he provided you with any specific assurance, or I know you have oaths in other respects as well, that he will not bring this up ever as a Green MP in the House of Commons?
Look, the relationship we have of friendship and trust is built on a number of things. One is how he's conducted himself in Parliament when I've served with him for the last 8 years. I don't think there's a single chance that he wants to ever bring up separatism as a Canadian federal member of Parliament. No, I don't need to go pushing him on hypotheticals out to forever. I'm very confident that Pierre Nantel is a strong Canadian Green Party candidate for Longueuil-Saint-Hubert.
Mr. Nantel said his original comments came up in the context of a discussion on Bill 21. If you become Prime Minister, will the federal government, under your leadership, legally challenge that bill?
I think what we want to do is, my first approach is always to find a solution, and the best solution would be, in respect of Quebec's National Assembly, would be a revision of the bill to remove the parts that are discriminatory against individuals. We clearly have condemned Bill 21. The Green Party finds it to be an unacceptable intrusion into the individual rights of Canadians who have, for whatever, they have the right, we have the right under the Charter for freedom of expression, freedom of religion. So the bill is discriminatory in a way that makes it unacceptable. How you fix that as a federal, for instance, as a Prime Minister, I would start with trying to work with Prime Minister Legault, the Premier of Quebec, and ask for him to reconsider, because the issue in Quebec has deep roots back to Bouchard-Taylor Commission, looking at issues of reasonable accommodation. I think it's quite right to take religious symbols off public buildings, and quite wrong to take that principle to individual Canadians and individual Quebecers. So I've worked to remove the discrimination and hopefully be able to do it in conjunction with a government in Quebec that sees it as unacceptable.
Sorry, just so that I'm clear, you think the bill can be revised to not be discriminatory? Does that mean just by removing the parts that apply to people who are in positions of authority, or is the bill in and of itself discriminatory?
Well, if you're taking religious symbols off of buildings, that's not a problem. But if you're extending it to individuals, that is a problem. And I'd rather find a way, again, because my goal is always national unity, I'd rather find a way to collaborate with the government of Quebec and deal with the issue so that there is a court challenge going on right now, and there's no question but that will continue to go through the courts. One hopes that could come to a satisfactory conclusion to protect rights. The difficulty is it comes at a cost if the government of Quebec and the people of Quebec feel that Canada is against them. I don't like any of the divisions in Canadian politics. I don't want Albertans to think that their federal government is against them. I don't want them to think that British Columbians are against Albertans. And it's as one country, one family, we always have to pull together. Bill 21 is clearly challenging in this regard.
So does that mean that you hesitate, let's say, if you were to be Prime Minister, to intervene in a legal capacity because you feel that that would be divisive towards Quebecers?
Well, I think, not to quote Justin Trudeau on something in this interview, but yesterday when he said it was counterproductive, I think that's what he was hinting at. We don't want to do, and the federal leadership quite often has, I met with Stephen Harper on this point at one point before a Quebec provincial election, that all federal leaders would stay out of the Quebec internal politics of their election campaign because it would be seen to be counterproductive.
But aren't religious minorities in Quebec Canadians?
Of course they are, and that's why we want to protect their rights. That's why I want to get rid of the discriminatory aspects of Bill 21 as much as possible in concert with the Quebec government.
But you want to do that by talking to Premier Legault, not by any kind of legal action?
I'd like to try that first.
So you're not ruling out legal action eventually?
No, but of course, as Prime Minister, one would watch this go through the courts and decide the right moment. But if you can achieve something through greater collaboration and cooperation, that's always what you should do.
Okay, I want to switch topics before I let you go, and I do want to ask you about something that all parties are getting questions about right now, and that is candidate vetting. You have two candidates who have espoused anti-abortion views, one of them filled out a questionnaire for the Campaign for Life Coalition in 2014 and one as late as 2018, saying if elected, he'll support measures to stop funding abortions with taxpayers' money. Your party spokesperson told CBC that candidate doesn't remember filling out the questionnaire. Is that actually acceptable to you?
No, we're doing a re-vetting. The first candidate, she filled out, she posted something when she was a teenager.
Yes, it was yours.
She's 100% in favor of a woman's right to a safe legal abortion. It's very important that nobody be wobbly on that point. So there is currently a re-vetting. We do vet every candidate. We have a quite extensive process. We turn they both fill out questionnaires and we go through their social media history. We look for anything that could possibly be against our values. If we find something that's against our values, the candidate is declined. So if something, and it's every party's dealing with that these days. We've had, this is not unique to us by any means. And really, in the process of getting yourself elected to Parliament these days, you better be prepared to know that everyone's going to go through your entire personal history, your social history, and figure out if there's something here that would disqualify you for office. In our case, if somebody doesn't hold firmly to the view that women have the right to a safe and legal abortion, then they will not be a Green Party candidate.
The thing is, it didn't take long for us to just go on the CLC's website, look at their questionnaires, and find, I think the other candidate we're referring to, not the original one you referred to, but Mark Vercouteren, it was very easy to just see the questionnaire that he had filled out, right? And it was obvious that he gave very specific answers saying, he wouldn't support measures to stop, he would rather support measures to stop funding.
I find that unacceptable. And as I said, his position within the party is being re-vetted. Someone within the team has assured me they are talking to him to try to figure out how it could happen that he doesn't remember something as recent as 2018. This is an ongoing question, and I'm not satisfied with the answers I've got so far, but we do give people a chance to explain themselves, and the news cycle goes so very fast. You need to actually realize that in real life, by the time you get someone on the phone and talk to them, the re-vetting can take longer than 24 hours, but we do move very quickly.
Okay, I'll leave it there. I appreciate your time today, Ms. May. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Vashi.
Hi, I'm Vashi Kappelos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video. Thanks for watching.